Dear child, before these words settle into your heart, allow me to say this with gentleness and honesty. This is a spiritual reflection, not a prediction. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Nothing here is meant to rush you, pressure you, or pull you into fear. This is an invitation to listen inwardly, to notice what your spirit already knows, but hasn't fully named yet. I feel the angels urging softness as I speak, because your heart has been tender for a long time. Even when you tried to act strong, I feel you were guided here at this exact moment because your soul has been quietly asking for reassurance. Not loudly, not dramatically, just in those quiet spaces where you stare at the ceiling, where your chest feels heavy for no clear reason, where you sense something unfinished but can't explain what it is. You didn't come here because you were bored. You came because part of you needed to feel seen, understood, and reminded that your inner world is not imaginary. Pause with me for a breath. Let it be slow. The angels want you grounded, not overwhelmed. I can feel them surrounding you with a calm presence, almost like hands resting gently on your shoulders. They know how much you've been carrying alone. They know how often you've told yourself, "I'm fine," even when something inside you wasn't. And they know how often you've wondered if the way you love is too much for this world. Dear child, there is a reason your body reacts before your mind does. That tightness in your chest, that sudden warmth, that wave of emotion that comes out of nowhere. It isn't weakness, it's sensitivity, it's awareness. Sometimes the soul senses movement long before the physical world catches up. And right now, something is moving, not loudly, not chaotically, but deliberately. My beloved child, heaven is not quiet tonight. If you listen beyond noise and distraction, you may feel a subtle vibration in your spirit, like the air itself is charged with meaning. And what's touching this moment isn't only angelic presence, it's also the energy of the one tied to you across distance, silence, and time. Your soulmate, the one whose name still echoes in parts of you that logic can't reach. The angels show me that this connection has never truly gone dormant. It simply went quiet so both of you could grow. Your soulmate has been restless, not because they don't know what they feel, but because they do. They've tried to move forward like the connection was just a memory, just a phase, just a lesson. Yet every time they try to fully detach, something pulls them back inward, not to pain, but to truth. They've been facing themselves lately in ways they didn't expect, and it hasn't been comfortable. Real love rarely is at first, and I need you to hear this clearly, dear child. It wasn't anything you forced. It wasn't something you chased or demanded. It was who you were when you didn't realize you were being watched. You loved with sincerity when it cost you. You forgave when no one apologized. You stayed kind when becoming cold would have been easier. You didn't perform love. You embodied it. And that kind of authenticity leaves a mark on the soul. There was a moment, small on the surface, enormous in the unseen, when your true heart showed itself. You may not even remember it clearly, but heaven does, and your soulmate does. In that moment, something inside them broke open, not painfully but honestly. It forced them to confront what real love actually feels like. Not intensity, not drama, but peace, safety, recognition, home. That's why, in the spiritual sense, It felt like they stood before the gates of heaven and whispered your name with trembling breath, because they reached a point where denial no longer worked. Their fear wasn't about loving you. Their fear was about losing you through their own hesitation. They asked the angels to speak to you before destiny shifted again. They asked heaven to protect your heart from confusion, from doubt, from voices that don't understand your depth. They asked for time and courage. Dear child, if you've been wondering why your emotions have felt heavier lately, why old memories keep resurfacing, why you feel pulled between hope and restraint, the angels say it's because a timeline is compressing. Things are no longer stretched out the way they were before. The waiting season is thinning, and when that happens, the body often reacts first. Pressure, fatigue, sensitivity, awareness. It's not punishment, it's preparation. You may have noticed subtle signs, dreams that linger, repeated thoughts of one person, sudden urges to go places or change routines, songs that hit too close, moments of stillness that feel loaded with meaning, and you may have tried to dismiss them, telling yourself not to read into things. But your spirit keeps nudging you gently, saying, pay attention, not because something bad is coming, but because something real is aligning. The angels show me that your soulmate's prayer was not casual. It was raw. They asked heaven to remove obstacles blocking clarity, peace, union, and growth. They asked for protection over you, especially from emotional drain and misaligned connections. They asked for your abundance to stop being delayed, and they asked for the distance between you, emotional or physical, to stop feeling like a wall. And heaven listened. A divine rearrangement has already begun around your life. Some things may start falling away. Certain people may grow distant. Old patterns may suddenly feel uncomfortable. That's not loss, dear child. That's refinement. Heaven sometimes clears space before it brings alignment. What leaves now was never meant to follow you into the next chapter. Your soulmate is changing too. The angels show me they are surrendering pride, fear, and old coping mechanisms. They are being confronted by truth from within and from above, and it's bringing them to a crossroads where silence will no longer work. They are being guided toward a moment of honesty, one where they must speak, act, and choose with intention instead of delay. I know part of you is tired of waiting, tired of hoping quietly, tired of being the one who feels deeply while pretending not to. And the angels want you to know you don't have to harden yourself to be protected. You don't have to shut down your heart to be safe. Discernment is not the same as closing. Wisdom is not the same as fear. Dear child, the biggest shifts often arrive as a quiet knowing before they become visible change. A sense of standing at a doorway, a feeling that your life is about to reorganize itself in ways you can't fully see yet. And that's where you are now. Not at the end, not at the beginning, but at the threshold. So the angels ask you to stay present, stay honest with yourself, stay open without forcing outcomes. What is meant for you does not require manipulation. It requires readiness, and readiness comes from alignment, not anxiety. Breathe again. Dear child, let your shoulders soften. Let your heart remain open but grounded, because heaven is not rushing you. It is walking with you, and it whispers again, not to alarm you, but to prepare you gently. Something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate whispered a truth to heaven that they have never had the courage to admit to anyone, not even to themselves until now. They confessed that every time life pulled you two apart, something in them cracked. But at the same time, something stronger inside them refused to let your name disappear. They tried to move on with their mind, but their spirit kept circling back to you, like a compass that will not lie. And child, they admitted something that is almost too tender to say out loud. Your energy has been the only thing that felt real in a world that often feels hollow. I want you to feel what that means. It means your presence did more than attract them. It anchored them. It means when they were surrounded by noise, your essence felt like truth. When they were tempted by distractions, your spirit still felt like home. And even when they tried to forget, your name remained, not as an obsession, but as a sacred imprint, like the soul recognizing what the ego could not explain. And the angels, they didn't just overhear this, they witnessed it. They watched the sincerity behind the confession, the trembling honesty behind the words, the way your soulmate's spirit finally stopped performing and started telling the truth. And what the angels reveal in reflections like this is simple but powerful. Some connections are not random, not accidental, not just a phase. Some are layered, ancestral, karmic, chosen, protected, because they are meant to awaken growth, maturity, healing, and divine alignment in both hearts. That is why your paths keep circling back. That is why you can be doing fine and suddenly feel them like a wave. That is why your emotions can intensify out of nowhere, and you don't even understand what triggered it. That is why signs can show up the moment you decide to detach, like life itself is whispering, "Not yet, not like that," not with that kind of confusion. It's not that you're weak, dear child. It's that your spirit is sensitive, and sometimes sensitivity is how heaven communicates, through subtle pulls, inner nudges, strange timing, and the kind of knowing you cannot prove, but you cannot ignore. Now listen carefully, because this is where the message becomes tender and a little shaking. The angels revealed that your soulmate has been asking heaven for permission, not permission to chase you, not permission to play with you, but permission to come closer in a way they never could before. Closer without fear, closer without mixed signals, closer without hiding behind distance, pride, or silence. They asked for courage, timing, and the exact moment when both spirits would be ready to meet in truth instead of uncertainty. And child, whether this unfolds quickly or gently, the inner shift matters most. A divine synchronization has begun inside them that can show up in you as sudden emotional waves. You might feel a heavy softness in your chest, like your heart is being touched without hands. You might sense them in your dreams, not as fantasy, but as presence, like your spirit is picking up what words haven't said yet. You might feel an unexplainable pull toward healing, toward forgiveness, toward closure, toward clarity, and you might even feel moments of calm that don't match your circumstances, like peace arrived early, before the proof. These sensations aren't meant to scare you. They're meant to remind you. You are not crazy for feeling deeply. You are not too much for sensing things that other people dismiss. And you are not alone in the unseen. The angels often work like this, quietly, moving pieces you can't see, softening hearts you can't reach, guiding timing you can't control, because your soulmate's confession didn't stop at, "I miss them." It went deeper. They admitted they are tired of living with truth locked inside their chest. They confessed that blessings feel incomplete when your name isn't attached. Like life can be successful on the outside, but still feel unfinished on the inside. And they said something that is both beautiful and terrifying. You are not just someone they care about. You are the person their soul recognizes. Even across lifetimes, they cannot remember. So they prayed for you, dear child. Not a shallow prayer, not a selfish prayer, a trembling one. They asked heaven to send you a sign that is undeniable, not to manipulate you, but to help you understand what their silence couldn't explain. They asked that you would recognize clearly that the connection is real enough to respect, real enough to handle with care, real enough to stop treating like maybe. And if you've been feeling a shift, like a door is loosening, like a stuck situation is quietly changing, like something is clearing that used to block you, this reflection is pointing to that same theme. A blessing can arrive like a turning point. A closed door can open. A blocked path can soften. A foggy situation can become clear. Not because you forced it, but because something inside the timeline moved. The angels also revealed something that holds weight. Your soulmate believes that a great news moment is meant to touch your life, and they didn't want you to mistake it as coincidence or luck. They wanted you to know, before it happens, that love was involved in the alignment, that their surrender, their growth, their release of something heavy from the past played a role in clearing space for what's next. And this part is important, dear child. If your heart has been going through waves, sudden clarity, sudden sadness, sudden detachment, sudden longing, it may not be punishment. It may be preparation. Sometimes the Spirit empties old expectations so it can hold new truth. Sometimes heaven removes confusion by exhausting you with it, until your soul finally says, "I'm done chasing. I'm done guessing. I'm ready for what is real." So here is what I want you to hold gently in your hands, like something sacred. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to beg for proof. You don't have to collapse into fear. Your job is not to control destiny. Your job is to protect your peace while staying open to truth. If this reflection resonates, let it bring you back to the center of yourself. Let it remind you that your love is not pointless. Your patience is not wasted. Your heart is not foolish for being soft, and your discernment is not doubt. It's wisdom. And yes, dear child, I know part of you is wondering, what happens next? In reflections like this, the angels often highlight a theme more than a timeline. Alignment, convergence, two hearts being pulled out of confusion and into clarity. A love that stops hovering in the maybe zone and begins to stand in the truth zone. A moment that feels like coming home, not because everything is perfect, but because something becomes honest. So ground yourself right now. Feel your breath. Feel your body. Feel the air around you. And let your spirit remember this. What is meant for you will not miss you. What is real will not require you to abandon yourself. What is divine will not demand that you shrink your worth to keep someone close.